History is complicated. Prince Albert usually gets the credit for introducing the Christmas tree to Britain, though it would be truer to say that he popularized a custom pioneered in royal circles 40 years earlier by Queen Charlotte, the German wife of George III. In 1800, she erected a yew tree covered with baubles and fruit in the middle of the drawing room at Queen's Lodge, Windsor, where it delighted the children considered good and grand enough to have been invited to her Christmas party. German influence was renewed when in 1818 the Duke of Kent married the widowed Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. At the age of 13, their only child named Victoria, after her mother described in her journal the sight of 2 trees hung with lights and sugar ornaments in their home in Kensington Palace, with gifts spread out beneath. By 1830, a decade before Albert set sail for his wedding, decorated trees had become a fairly common feature of upper-class life. Albert's achievement was to continue the custom into a different age, when pictures of the royal tree in new general interest magazines such as the London Illustrated News promoted the idea among the swelling middle class. As debatable, if not as complicated, is the story of the first, and, as it turned out, last, Christmas tree in my childhood home. I've always believed that it was made by my father at Cross's cotton spinning mill in Farnworth, Lancashire, where he worked as a maintenance engineer. My brother, on the other hand, is convinced it was a gift from our paternal grandmother. What I remember of the tree, which I last saw in 1952 or thereabouts, supports both theories. Nothing about it looked real. It stood about 2.5 feet tall and its metal trunk sprouted branches made of thick wire that had been pleated, like the cheapest kind of lavatory brush, to hold bristles pretending to be pine needles. Here was a tree to represent the age of the ration card and the ersatz, when, so it was said, sausages were bulked up with sawdust, and little wooden pips were inserted into red jelly to pass it off as raspberry jam. My father brought home all kinds of things he'd made at work: wooden toys, a fine chessboard, a model Chinese junk, and, in this era of shortages, a Christmas tree made of wire would have been typical of his skill and ingenuity. Then again, it might have been bought in a shop, as I learned this week on a visit to East London's Geoffrey Museum, which is devoted to the history of the home. Artificial trees of a similar size and shape became popular in the 1930s. My granny in Scotland could have bought one, bent the branches to align with the trunk, and made a long parcel and sent it 200 miles south. Except that it was blue. This is a fact my brother and I agree on. It was blue because it could not be green, because my granny loathed green as the color of Irish republicanism and by extension of the Catholic Church, and refused to have it in the house.